Speedway for NASCAR action-packed racing this Saturday for the 100-lap main event, the NASCAR Memorial Race Day 100. Guarantee your tickets now at eastboundpark.com.
Welcome into Tim's Corner Live, episode number 32. We're having some fun off air before we even come on. Tim Terry, Denver Matchett, Dylan Langell. Dylan, are you ready for a big weekend coming up? Because I know you had a big weekend last weekend. You got to do 2 races.
I did. I got to be at my home tracks at Riverside and Valley Raceway. And, you do the whole 9 to 5 gig. My gig is doing radio. So I go from one mic to another. Pretty fired up about going to the Mike Stevens weekend, the Mike Stevens Memorial weekend at Petty with the Hot Rod Classics. Going to be there for the whole show. Looking forward to it. But this whole crew here, we're kind of spread out in different spaces and different places, including yourself, Tim.
Well, Denver is going to be with you.
Me and Denver are a tag team this weekend. We're a 3-man tag. Jesse Thompson's in there too. So a 3-man tag.
Okay. So you're going up for Saturday though. Friday, you're somewhere else, right? Yeah. So Denver, you're crewing, I'm assuming, for Chris on Friday?
That is correct. I'll be there Friday.
And then Saturday, you're going to be hanging out, doing some production work in the background for the Mike Stevens race. Exciting race. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. We've got our picks to make. I know everybody's been making their picks on the Petty Raceway Facebook page. We've got our picks. I've got to make up some points after last week, boys, in fantasy. The 21 car slipped a little bit, so we won't talk about that. But Dylan, we'll talk about the race. So great race last week at Riverside.
Yeah, it was. I'd say it was probably the most eventful pro stock race and sportsman race that we had. We had no gimmicks, no roulette wheel this time around, but it was a lot of fun. The feedback I got, it was a very positive race, and we got a guy who was cold for a few years. He is hot, 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 and that is Craig Slomlight. His third win in a row on the East Coast International Pro Stock Tour.
Yeah, absolutely. He has been lighting it on fire the last couple of weeks. And with 2 races coming up at his home racetrack at Scotia Speedway, going to be tough to beat him and Cole Butcher 8 points, separating those two going in to next week. But Denver, you got to have a Miramichi show on Saturday night. From what we saw after our show at Riverside, looked good.
It was another wild show in Miramichi. Right from start to finish, even the bomber race, I think we had 9 or 10 rookies in the bomber race, 19 total, biggest field of bomber cars. Some phenomenal racing. Mark Kingston on a roll, J.R. Lawson on a roll. He won another mini stock race. Some great street stock racing. How about Darcy O'Neill? Been a long time since we saw him in victory lane. And then, of course, Miramichi has the demolition, and the demolition stuff was once again wild with lots of craziness, some big hits in the figure eight, some cars jumping over tires and everything in between. And that's a product of having 48 cars on the track. But we have a big race coming up to cap off our season in a few weeks, but 2 big weekends coming up first before we get there, including this weekend with the 8th annual Mike Stevens Memorial.
Yeah, 3 real big weekends coming up if you include this one and the October 1-2 weekend, whether you're at Scotia Speedway or Speedway Miramichi, and then that weekend in the middle of the East Coast International Pro Stock Tour. Want to send a tip of the cap over to the boys at Oyster Bed Speedway as well. Great racing on Sunday. We came off on the intro at Jeff Bridges' burnout. It's the only video that I cut all Sunday because all my stuff was in the car from Riverside. I forgot to charge batteries. Blame it on me. But I spoke with you guys before we went, and Jeff Bridges was really emotional in victory lane. I know Jeff lost his grandmother, and the work that goes into these championships, it kind of reminded me why we're involved in this sport, and to see that emotion and all that hard work pay off. And Jeff kind of looked at me and Lloyd afterwards. He's like, can I do a burnout? And Lloyd looked at him. He's like, absolutely you can. It's your championship. And congratulations to him, Jeff Richard winning the Honda Outlaw division, Nick Chason winning the street stock, and of course Dylan Gosby wrapped up the Pro Stock Championship a couple of weeks ago at Oyster Bed Speedway in Tanton Woolridge, taking the Bandolero crown. So the racing at Oyster Bed is done. Got to go visit some friends afterwards, and actually got to introduce Lindsay and some of the kids to some of the racing that we've done in the last couple of weeks. So that was kind of neat to kick back and relax a little bit. I can't wait to get to Newfoundland, boys, to relax a little bit after you guys are busy at the Mike Stevens Memorial. So we're going to talk Eastbound in a couple of moments time. But before we get into that, actually, let's bring up the first thing we're going to do tonight. So we have lap boards for Eastbound coming up this weekend. You guys know how lap boards work. It's $25 a lap. We're going to put some money into the pocket of the lap leaders of the 3 races. Obviously, paying bandoleros is not something that I want to do. So you see the numbers on the screen, and they have fluctuated a little bit. Hobby stock are at 17 laps remaining. The Sportsman, I believe it's closer to 33 or 34 laps. And at the bottom of that deal, if we can sell all the laps tonight by 11:59 Atlantic, we're going to make 3 draws for TCM monthly passes. And with Scotia Speed World coming up on Friday, that is a subscriber show as well. So you might be able to watch the subscriber show at Scotia if we sell out all the laps tonight. So get a hold of myself through the Tim's Corner page. Get a hold of Mike James from Eastbound Park. Let's get these laps sold. And boys, you know how important it is to see these laps sold and get a little bit of extra money in the pockets, right?
Yeah, it is, Tim. It's a cool deal. Gives some extra money to the drivers. Gives them a little more incentive, too, to lead lap 1 or lead lap 10 or lead lap 17. It just adds a little more excitement. We saw that with the Riverside race, Tim, with over $3,700 in extra prizing. A lot of fun. And one more question before we go to our first guest, Tim. Over, under, and how many bottles of Screech you have on the weekend?
I'm not a huge fan of Screech, honestly. The Lamb's rum is good.
Okay, over under.
Over under is probably, for me, set at 1. But I will have to see how the week goes. I'm over there until Wednesday. I don't know what the Thorns have planned for me. Let's put it that way.
All right.
So anyways, if you want to get a lap on this Eastbound deal and support their drivers, get a hold of us here at Tim's Corner Motorsports and get a hold of Mike James. Let's sell this thing out before Saturday and we can put an extra. I think it comes to like $3,400 in the pockets of these drivers at Eastbound for the Memorial Race coming up on a Saturday. Show begins at Eastbound at 12:30. Tickets are on sale now. If you're on the island, head over and check it out. Because we have a show at Scotia on Friday night, our cameras are not going to be over there. So maybe 2022 we'll take a look at that. But let's shift gears and go into some iRacing, because last night the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series ran round number 2 of their playoffs at Bristol, and the winner of that race in dominating fashion, Corey Hall, would be proud because Keegan Leahy led all 250 laps last night to take away the victory at Bristol. The Virtual Racing School 2311 Racing number 32. The driver joins us now from Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's Keegan Leahy. Keegan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Tim, I'm really happy to be here.
Excited to have you along for the ride with us here tonight. So for those that don't know, that are tuning in, that usually see the stock car portion of the show, the real stock car portion of the show that we cover, you picked up a pretty big win last night. For those that don't know, obviously you're racing for money every single week. You're racing for 2311 for Denny Hamlin, but that win punched your ticket in to race for $100,000 here in a couple of weeks' time, right?
Yeah, that was probably the biggest one of my career. Came at the best time too. This is my 10th win in the series, and I never got that pumped up for a win. That's for sure. You know, once in a while I'd do this boring race and lead a bunch of laps and stuff, and you know, I almost have to fake the excitement at certain points, but that wasn't a problem last night. Yeah, this was huge. I came into this race not expecting to win. The previous races, we have a playoff system, right, Tim? As you know, I'm sure. I had a bad race at Darlington, so I was in a win or nothing situation already just after the first race of the playoffs. So yeah, I needed that for sure. And I didn't want to go into Talladega having to count on anything, let alone a win.
And there's 8 drivers that are now in that situation. And I know there was a couple of bent feelings after the last couple of laps of that race last night. We're live and interactive with Keegan Leahy. If you have a question, be sure to drop it down below. And Mr. Langell, we'll get to it here in a moment. But first of all, led all 250 laps. On paper, it was pure dominance. You had Logan Clampitt closing at the end. You had to balance the lap traffic through a long run in the middle of the race. It looks easy on paper, but obviously it wasn't. Walk us through a night at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Yeah, so it seems like it's different every year, like however they have the grooves set up in real life also, as well as the game. You never know which lane's going to be dominant. You never know how the tires are going to react. You never know what kind of setup you need to bring. We kind of nailed it on this. We didn't nail the setup. It was okay. Qualifying was really good, but I didn't really expect to be running the high line all race. I thought the bottom was going to be strong, and all of a sudden I'm in the high line the whole race. But yeah, those 250 laps, I only pushed for the last 10 because we really had to save tires. I was also trying to manage traffic because I didn't want to catch the tail end of the line, because that just complicates stuff, right? So it's easier to slow everybody down than it is to try to pass lap traffic. So that's what I went for. I went pretty slow for about 240 of those laps, but the last 10 were fun.
You had to balance Logan Clampitt too, and we know Logan can be a little bit aggressive and looked like he was going to make a move on the outside for a moment and then kind of slapped the wall and fell back a little bit. Obviously, you mentioned the Darlington race. How do you balance in those last 15 laps or so, Logan charging to the front of the field, knowing that he wants to win it bad, he'll win it at all costs, and you trying just to keep focused on taking that lead?
Yeah, maintaining a lead is pretty difficult in any situation, let alone a final restart where the win is everything. So yeah, I was pretty worried that Logan was going to do something crazy. Luckily, I got really good restarts, and my corners were pretty good. I took it kind of easy because I thought I had a big enough gap that there wasn't much of a risk, but he almost got to my bumper in the last corner. So I should have went a little harder. But yeah, it was pretty scary those last few restarts because like I was saying, I was saving tires and and backing up the field a little bit for 240 laps, I never pushed the car. So when you have to do 10 perfect laps at the end of a race, it's really hard to do that when for the last hour and a half you've been just saving tires. So I'm sure if anyone's driven a race car, you know exactly what I mean. It takes a while to find that tire limit, push the car to the limit. And when you're tasked to do that in what's basically a green, white checker finish, it's very stressful. So luckily I didn't make any mistakes at the end there and brought it home.
So for those that are just joining us and are looking for the real world conversation, maybe talk about the Mike Stevens race and the Eastbound race coming up on the weekend, or Riverside last weekend, let's give a little bit of background for your racing career, because there's not a whole lot of drivers that race on the top tier level under a NASCAR banner. So how does a guy from Halifax get to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series and race for Denny Hamlin?
Yeah, well, personally, I just kind of fell into it because when I first started iRacing, it really wasn't that big. So, you know, I built up my skills over time, and my goal was to get in this series. But back then, the series had like a $10,000 prize pool, and you were commentating then too, still.
Yeah, I'm a little bit old. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, you were part of my motivation. I had to get in a series where the great Tim Terry was commentating. But yeah, I get a little bit went beyond that by the time I actually get into the series. But yeah, if anyone's looking to get into iRacing now, or they already are in iRacing, yeah, just get your skills up. There's a rating system, so you can kind of measure your skill level versus your opponents, and eventually, after you do racing and do a lot of practice, you'll get to a pretty good skill level to the point where you can try to get into one of the qualifier series. So call it Road to Pro. Top 20 make it into the Coke series, basically. So yeah, there's a ladder system, Tim. I'm not sure if you've ever gone for it. Have you tried any competitive racing?
I do not have any of the skills to do so. I've been trying to convince Dylan Langell to get iRacing. Dylan, have we convinced you yet?
Need a sponsor.
You need talent too, but that's beyond the point.
Hey now.
Listen, sponsors weren't an issue for the demo car.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, see if we can work on it in the winter.
Okay.
Instead of demo Dylan, it can be I'll have to come up with some like computerized name with a D.
Digital Dylan.
Digital Dylan. There you go. There you go.
There you go. So Keegan, obviously this series has grown in the last couple of seasons. The draft, the teams coming in. How neat is it to be racing with 2311 Racing and being able to race with them for a championship in about 4 weeks' time?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, my first season with 2311 went, well, it was Denny Hamlin Racing at the time, but it went okay. I didn't have a championship run, so this year is really the big one. And yeah, it's really, it's fun, of course, and it's stressful too. You know, like these are my idols growing up too. Like I've always been a Denny Hamlin fan. I get some interaction with Kurt Busch as well, which he's a really cool guy, by the way. It's really good to, yeah, he makes time for me when it's necessary, I guess. But yeah, Kurt's pretty cool. Denny texted me congratulations last night. You know, I still don't really feel like it's a real thing. It's very surreal to be a part of this. Like, you know, effectively my peers now are people that I've looked up to since I was a kid. So yeah, I'm part of 2311 Racing. It's really hard to say that. I don't believe it myself, but yeah, it's pretty amazing, and I'd love to be able to represent them, at least on the sim side.
Now, to put this into perspective for the drivers that might be watching from the East Coast International Pro Stock Tour, the fans, the worst you can finish now, because we have a championship 4 in the series, is 4th.
Playoffs.
Yep. So 4th pays $10,000 US. $10,000 is what our East Coast International Pro Stock Tour champion gets without the exchange rate. So how neat is that to be racing for that amount of money? And I know you guys put in a lot of work and a lot of time and effort into these setups to make them go and make them go quick. But the prize money has grown as well. As you mentioned, it used to be a $10,000 prize pool total. Now it's, you know, over $300,000. So what are the thoughts going into Texas in 4 weeks' time, knowing that there could be a potential of walking away with a big payday?
Yeah, like I was saying before, I got into the series not really going for the money or anything. That wasn't part of it. This was just a hobby, like anybody else racing, really. And what was then grassroots for sim racing, right? So yeah, it never really was about the money for me. But More recently, I am trying to make this my gig, not just the competition, but virtual racing school as well. I do coaching and stuff. So doing my best to make this my career, at least for a few years. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, going forward, going into Texas week with 100,000 US, which is north of 120 grand Canadian. That's life-changing money for me. I've never grown up with money. Living in my mobile home right now that I'm blessed to have recently purchased, but I live modestly and definitely trying to make the big bank payday there at the end of the year.
Now, I know social's kind of quiet. If you get a question for Keegan Leahy, just let us know and drop it down there. Dylan will get a hold of it. But I want to ask you about the VRS deal because you mentioned it there. You do coaching for folks that are coming through the sim racing ladder and, want to get a little bit better and sharpen their skills. So if they want to get a little bit of coaching from you, how do they do so? And how do they get a hold of Virtual Racing School?
Yeah, like Virtual Racing School's subscription service where I'm providing any content pretty much that you would need to use as a benchmark. So stuff like telemetry, videos, setups, whatever you need to learn to be able to improve your skills. And then we do coaching as well, one-on-one coaching on the side. That's an at request type of thing. But yeah, virtualracingschool.com. Yeah, that's pretty much it, Tim.
There you go, Dylan.
I'll see what I can do.
I got my first customer, huh? Well, I'll say it's not just about new drivers either, because pretty much my last 4 clients for coaching was a gentleman in a league with I think the minimum age requirement is 50 plus. So the gentleman's
Brett Roy
race league. So I don't know if you're close to that or not, Dylan. We'll see. Tim's getting
Oh,
there, right?
geez. I know I got gray hair, but I'm not there yet. But that's all.
With the company that you keep, Dylan, I would say you're probably close anyway.
Yeah, sure. But with that, Keegan, so with the coaching, what would be one main point that you would give advice to a driver who's maybe new to the e-racing scene, or someone who's been doing it for a while, maybe just hasn't been cranking out the wins? What's usually the main focus for your teaching?
I have a pretty analytical way of going about it, but if you're getting into sim racing or even getting into real racing, and I'm sure a lot of the real life drivers can relate to this one, but imagine you're in a parking lot and you're turning in a circle and you slowly go faster and faster and faster. Eventually you can't hold that same circle. That's your tire limit. And that's seriously the essence of racing. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to follow a nice circular path through a corner right on that tire limit where you can't go any sharper and you don't go so fast that you end up going wide of that. So we're just following these smooth paths through the corner. It's pretty easy when you say it like that, but you got to somehow get your hands to do that and get the car to do it.
That's a little more than what they said in Talladega Nights.
Talladega, you don't need to do that because it's easy full throttle.
No, that's cool. I mean, and that's something even, I think some people take internet racing or e-racing for granted. They think it's just a video game where you press a button and go. But there's a lot of strategy with that in real racing and e-racing as well. A lot that you have to kind of think about, right, Keegan?
Yeah, well, strategy is what makes and breaks your race pretty often, especially with the level of competition in my series right now. If anyone watched my race last night, I led the whole race, and it's Bristol, so you end up getting in some lap traffic, and lap traffic's really not much slower. I caught the guy running 38th, and he was almost as fast as me. So what's that tell you? The guy in last is only half a tenth a lap slower than the leader. It's so incredibly close. So whenever you can pass somebody on strategy or racecraft, it's a lot easier than trying to have a faster car than them and making the pass the hard way.
Now, during this pandemic, especially in 2020, when the Cup guys were doing the e-racing, they would show off their rigs. We saw Denny Hamlin's impressive rig when his daughter shut the TV off and everything. Timmy Hill just had the Logitech wheel. We've got so many differences. What do you run that gets you these good finishes like your win last night?
Yeah, well, with Denny. I was actually spotting him at the time for that race, and I was wondering what he was yelling about. Like, what did I do wrong? But his TV got shut off. But yeah, like what I'm running, it's nothing too fancy. The only high end stuff I've got is my actual wheel. So once again, in virtual racing school, we do hardware as well. So I've got high end wheel and pedals, but this thing's out of some old van my uncle had in his backyard. My rig's made out of 2x4s, and I painted it with some rust coat for some reason. I don't know. It's whatever my dad had in his shit. So it's nothing super high end. Computer's a nice piece of work, I guess. I put that one together, just ordering components, but it's not a huge barrier to entry to get all this stuff together. And if you're interested in sim racing, you can start at an even lower than I'm at. Just you see guys like Timmy Hill running Logitech wheels. It's $200 at Best Buy.
What would you say would be the bare minimum that someone would have to invest? Whether it's just doing like these Tim's Corner races in the off season, like if someone wants to get into it, but they don't want to spend a ton of money, just have fun. Like, what's the bare minimum someone would have to spend?
Yeah, like buying all stuff new. It depends if you have a computer already that can run the game, but you got to spend probably $1,000 on a computer nowadays. Components are getting so expensive. You'll want a single monitor, maybe even a virtual reality headset, which is a couple $100. And your Logitech wheel and pedals are going to be $200 or $300. So you'll get in on it for $1,500 if you buy it all new. Which sounds expensive for a video game, but you can treat it as a hobby and maybe justify it as one as well.
Tim, what do you got now?
I don't got anything. I know you're watching social. Did Jason Pickles go down to Valley this week?
He did.
Okay. Apparently he said there's no smooth lines at Valley.
No.
Okay. Just figure we throw that out there. Denver, what do you have for Keegan Leahy?
Keegan, I do have a question for you, and I haven't been following much this year. I've been a little busy, but I know that in recent years, when you were running for the championships in the eNASCAR iRacing series, you were also balancing that with school. How did you manage that?
Well, I took a reduced course load anyway, so yeah, I had time. Just to give you some time frames, like it's not like we're sitting at our computer for 60 hours a week grinding this out. It's about 10 or 20 hours a week of prep to compete well. Beyond that limit, you start to have diminishing returns, and you don't want to have burnout when you're at this competitive level, right? You don't want to get sick of it. So, it's like 10 or 20 hours a week, and then took me 20 hours a week of doing school. So, that's what I was doing at the time. Took advantage of government loans and got through school. And yeah, I'm graduated now, so I've got more time to focus on all this stuff, sim racing related. But yeah, it's not too bad.
There's the saying that you got to lose a championship to win a championship. And I know you came oh so close about 2 years ago in that final race. Not to maybe bring up some bad memories, but what can you tell us about the 2019 run to the championship?
No, it's a good memory. It was fun. And it's not like second place didn't pay too badly either. So I took the positives from it. Yeah, like I guess I learned some stuff from the race directly, but really like any other racer knows, you grow as a driver race to race, let alone year to year. I'm completely different than I was 2 years ago in the same situation. I might have raced differently. Maybe I wouldn't. I don't really know, because at the end of the day, it's all you react with your gut. You don't really react with your brain when you're in that sort of a situation. So yeah, for anyone that doesn't remember or didn't watch, I was side by side for the lead on the last lap for 40 grand. I almost won the championship, and somehow I didn't run into him. Right, Tim? I guess that was too nice.
But you know what? And Denver and Dylan can relate to this. We've seen drivers that have done worse things for less pay at real racetracks and have bent race cars up and bent feelings and bent everything else up. Clean, respectful. You and Zach put on that show at that last race, and there's a lot of drivers, real, virtual, what have you, can look at that and learn a thing or two about that. So it's not just necessarily the battle and everything else. The battle was great, but the way it went down, I think showed a lot of people a lot of things.
Those are some very kind words, Tim. I appreciate that. And I like to think I made the right decision still. I don't regret it. You know, I race clean, always have. Maybe it's 100 grand for at Texas instead of 40. So might sway my opinion. We'll see. But
Well, so here's the next thing I want to get at. So Bobby's in. Obviously, you work with Bobby with VRS.
Yep.
Mitchell is looking pretty good. By the way, it's Mitchell's birthday, I guess. So happy birthday to him.
Yep.
So I guess
he's my official teammate.
Yeah, there you go. So the first question I'll ask you, and you kind of just answered one. There's 2 spots left. We got 1 race to go at Talladega. It's a wild card. So as a driver looking at his competition, who do you want to see take those final 2 spots?
Yeah, so really that race doesn't matter at all to me because we've got the team championship locked up and I'm locked into the finals. So I can finish first or last. It doesn't make a lick of difference. So I'm going to be pushing Mitchell the whole race. I'll be glued to his bumper because, you know, it's better to have 3 teammates racing for a win versus 2 teammates and an extra wild card. Let's say it like that, I guess. So it'd be nice to get Mitchell in. The last guy, I couldn't care less. I'm going to beat him anyway. But they're all good. Everyone's a good driver. Everyone's got a win this year that's in the playoffs. So everyone's obviously a capable driver, and they're all threats. So
you mentioned one key thing with that team championship being locked up. So if you have Mitchell on your front bumper or Bobby on your front bumper, and we have a replay of 2019 again, does it change the way you race at Texas?
Yeah, I'm racing teammates, and these are guys I have to continue working with. I'm sure. I think there's a mutual agreement that we can rough each other up as long as we don't wreck each other. Probably have a little bit less control over that than I would in a real card because we've got the internet to contend with. And sometimes you might think you're that close and the game might think you're that close. So you kind of can overlap and cause a crash if you get too close to another car. So there's more risk in hitting another guy, even for yourself. Like I can just get in contact with somebody and ruin my race. And honestly, second place isn't too bad either. So, you know, if I've got to take second, so be it. Happy with that payday too.
This series has gone so far in the last just 3 years. TV, money, teams involved, personalities involved, everything that's come to this series. Coca-Cola behind it, NASCAR behind it. Where do you see this series going in the next 5 years or so, or where would you like to see it go?
Oh, who knows? We were trying to get some TV deals going, but I think COVID kind of messed up some of that. But yeah, like if we could get some streaming stuff going on or TV, like, you know, I want to see the viewer base grow. I want to see more availability. You know, not everyone's going to be on Twitch.tv or YouTube on a Tuesday night. It's kind of hard to remember that sometimes. So the more availability, the better. More exposure, the better. And the series is already big as it is, so I'm happy where it's at too.
Now, obviously, with a little bit of a payday potentially coming here in a couple of weeks, I know you've kind of looked at doing some real racing stuff. What's the outlook been there? I know you've been to Scotia and Riverside a couple of times. If you get a couple of extra bucks in your pocket, does it change it? If you had a car land in your front lawn and had somebody say, "Hey, I want somebody to wheel this race car," would you go out and test? What's your thought on the real world side of things?
I haven't driven a race car before, but I actually got an open offer for that. So you might see me in something at Scotia Speed World. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to pressure him into it yet. But it sounds pretty good once he gets the car set up and ready to go. I've got an open invitation to do some laps. So hope he doesn't mind the paint getting scratched up a little bit because I'm not used to driving slow and avoiding. I mean, I'm used to a reset button. So no, I'm kidding. I won't wreck his car. But
give us to him which division.
No hits. Sorry.
So
it's not one of the top ones. I'm not driving a pro stock. Don't worry.
I was gonna say if it's a 4-cylinder car, we've got Tyler Hallahan, Greg Snellgrove, Richard Drake. Who else do we have, Dylan, that does the iRacing things on our winter series?
Brandon Campbell, but you don't want to drive his car.
He doesn't count. He doesn't race. Number one, hold on. He doesn't race, period. Denver, do you want to let us know what happened with his mini stock on Saturday?
Yes, so he shows up at the track, and the first thing he says, so to back the story up, he pulls in and he says, "Yeah, I forgot to get gas on the way here. My gas tank's empty." So I said, "Okay, so there's your excuse to why your car's not going to run today. So you're purposely not getting gas." Anyways, he had enough gas to pull onto the track, but allegedly, I'm watching him come out, and he doesn't even make it to turn 4, and the car is dead, like just stopped. And apparently, he blew a tranny or something like that. So. Yeah, but he did run another car in the bomber division, and that also lasted 2 laps, and it almost caught fire. So Brandon
Wow.
Campbell's doing great this year.
So what you're saying is me and Dylan didn't miss anything at Riverside.
You didn't miss anything on the Brandon Campbell side of things.
Okay.
I had to tune in to watch that just to see him catch on fire.
Well, he didn't. He pulled it off because he thought it was going to catch on fire.
Oh, man, come on, live a little and have some fun. Okay, Tim, we got a couple of social questions for Keegan here. Keegan, Ryan is wondering, what nights do you guys run typically?
Hey, Ryan. Yeah, the schedule is a little messy sometimes, but it's Tuesday nights for the most part. Starts at 10 Atlantic. I appreciate being able to talk in Atlantic time for once instead of Eastern or whatever. But yeah, Tuesday nights. It's every other week right now, so the next race is in 2 weeks from yesterday, so 13 days from now. And it's Talladega, so it's a good one to start watching if you're interested.
Keegan, I'm wondering too. I'm sure you've raced with some of the NASCAR guys, and then working with Denny Hamlin. Where was the first time you were almost in a pinch me situation? Like I'm driving it with Dale Jr. in this race, or oh my gosh, I'm on the phone with Denny Hamlin right now. Like, is this real life?
It was a slow build up for sure because the series started growing slowly and started being a little bit more stardom. Like I'm into esports as well. I love watching competition in all games, not just my involvement in sim racing. So my first team was G2 Esports, which holy crap, to me that's crazy. Like these I've always been fans of them, like in League of Legends and Counter Strike and stuff. And then eventually, the next year, I ended up getting a phone call from Denny Hamlin. It's like, okay, that's a jump. So yeah, it's like I was saying before. Like, it still feels surreal to me. It's hard to really stay grounded sometimes when you're involved in something that you're such a huge fan of. Like, even going to Scotia Speed World, I get starstruck by the drivers sometimes, right? So let alone the NASCAR guys.
One thing too, I mean, there's another owner in that 2311 Racing. Technically, you could say you work for the greatest NBA player of all time, Michael Jordan. That's pretty cool.
I've had one interaction with him. I won my first race that I won for Denny Hamlin Racing. Apparently, he got texted that I won the race, and he replied with a thumbs up. So that is my interaction with the great Michael Jordan, and I think that's pretty crazy and amazing. And we get a sponsorship deal from him too. I get to have some Jordan merchandise, got some shoes from him. So happy to represent him, and I'm really glad he's involved in NASCAR and sim racing.
So when you see the flyest looking guy in town, folks, it's going to be Keegan wearing his Air Jordans and the whole get up. I mean, Denny rocks it pretty good. And I guess Kurt now, some people kind of speculated that he was racing for 2311 because he did a photo and he was wearing Air Jordans and everyone works that way. But pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I feel like my personality doesn't quite match some of the clothes I've got now, but I'll make pretend. Nobody can know.
Tim?
So for those that want to tune in almost 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from yesterday, and watch Talladega, obviously no pressure on your back, but what are fans going to expect when they tune into the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series?
Yeah, Dega is the good one to start with because there's 40 drivers and each of them have a 1 out of 40 chance of winning that race. It's going to be a complete show and it's going to be completely unpredictable. We're going to be running 3 or 4 wide. Side draft is something new in iRacing now, just like in real life. When you get side by side with somebody, you can pull them back. So everyone's going to be working the air. And me personally, like I was saying, I'm going to be glued to Mitchell DeYoung's bumper to try to get my teammate into the final four with me. So don't expect me to win it, but maybe if the situation comes up, I'll go for it.
Now, I know you don't do it alone, and that's something that I think kind of lost on the real world side compared to the virtual side. Every real world driver has a crew chief and spotter and all the crew members. Who do you have on your crew that helps you on Tuesday nights get to where you are?
Right now, I got Matt Bontempi. He's my crew chief. It was actually Mitchell DeYoung last year, who's now a driver in the series and one of my main competitors. So he's my teammate now. He used to be my spotter. Kind of weird, but it was no surprise because he's always been an extremely good sim racer. He just never took the NASCAR route. But yeah, I've got a whole group behind me. I'm with Coanda Sim Sport, who don't just have their hands into NASCAR. They're also in a lot of the road racing stuff in sim racing. Really big presence in Europe. So it's Bobby Zelensky, Mitchell DeYoung, and Chris Sherburne are the guys that I work with in preparation for the races.
Now, I know we caught a little bit of. I know Justin Prince, JP, was scanning your channel last night, and at the end of the race, I think it was like 20 laps to go. He comes over the whisper key and says something about Keegan's talking about getting donaires at the end of the race. And number one, JP had no idea what a donaire was. And I had to tell him what a donaire was because between us East Coasters, it's easy. So I guess the final question I've got for you tonight, did you get donaires afterwards? And even if you didn't, where are you going for them?
I've got a large donaire pizza in my fridge right now with extra meat.
So give us a little plug. Where'd you go?
Actually, it's really close to where I live. It's called Echo Pizza. And he's also the donaire distributor for a lot of the area. So yeah, he's the big dog on the donaire side. So happy to live by him because I got quick access to them donaires.
Dylan knows a good donaire when he sees one, right, Dylan?
I do, and it has to have lots of donaire sauce. It can't just be plain. It's got to have all kinds of donaire sauce, and there's a specific type of donaire sauce. It can't be too thin. It's got to have some thickness to it. It can't have too much garlic. There's a science to it to explain to people.
I didn't know you were an expert on this.
Look at me.
Look at me.
Look at me. Did I fit in the dazzling Dylan suit this year?
No, you didn't. You weren't even able to button it up.
I wasn't able to button it up in 2019, but anyways.
Whatever. Keegan, this has been fun. Thanks for joining us. Go out in a couple of weeks and win that money, and we'll get you on here after Texas for sure.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, Tim, Denver, Dylan. Nice talking to you guys.
Good luck, man.
Yeah, good luck. That's Keegan Leahy, driver the number 32 for 2311 Racing, and we've got a couple of big announcements coming up for the next couple of weeks at Scotia Speed World, and we'll begin with this one. This one was kind of dropped on Friday. We have the finale for Scotia Speed World presented by Tim's Corner Motorsports. So Denver, Dylan, this is kind of neat. We've done some stuff at Miramichi. We've done some stuff at Speedway 660. To do this is kind of neat. And we're going to present some championships. And Dylan, it's going to be live on Tim's Corner TV on Friday, October 1st at 7:00.
Yes, it is. This has got to be the first Scotia Speed World race in October in a while as well. So it's all kind of coming full circle. You've been there for a long time. You've done so much for the drivers and staff at Scotia. It's only fitting that you're sponsoring the last weekly racing series race. And that's a whole big weekend itself with the finale for the East Coast International Pro Stock Tour. But some pretty tight battles in the Lightning Thunder division, along with the Bandoleros, the Sportsman. It's going to be tight that day. TCM sponsoring those big races is going to be a lot of fun. And you'll see it live on timscorner.tv or at the track.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on out to the racetrack, join in. It's before that October 4th cutoff with all the restrictions and what have you coming into the province of Nova Scotia. So come on out and join us. We're going to give away some championships on that night. But that's not the last race that we have. Coming up on Friday night, the CarStar Weekly Racing Series continues at Scotia Speed World. And it is round number 9 of the CarStar Weekly Racing Series. Action begins at 7 on Friday, September 17th. And it is a subscriber show. So if you are a part of the TCM subscribers that have the monthly on-demand side of things, you're going to get that race completely free. You can watch at timscorner.tv as it happens beginning on a Friday, September 17th at 7 p.m. So all the information at timscorner.tv, the format was released today. All of our divisions are racing, from the Fleet Break Atlantic Bandoleros all the way up to the Fleet Break Atlantic Sportsman and everything in between. By the way, Darren White's birthday was this week as well. So happy birthday to Darren. But we are going to shift gears and head towards Eastbound International Speedway and go racing with the Memorial Race Day, the 100 lap for the late model Sportsman Division coming up on the weekend. And we've got one of our drivers joining us, driver of the number 9, Owen Groves. Owen, welcome to the show. Maybe not. Oh, stand by. Hold on. We love this Zoom thing. Let's see here. Do we have a Brandon Campbell, by the way?
Yeah. I heard I showed up a few minutes late, but it's not my fault.
Showed up a few minutes. Yes, it's just like your
It's not. Yeah, it's not his fault. He couldn't get the car started.
Hold up, the car starts. It just doesn't move. We are one step in the right direction.
We've got a new problem now.
And also, I did tell Denver I had no gas, so I sent my mom to get gas, and she comes back with the full gas jug, and I go, "Well, we don't need that anymore. The car doesn't move." And she goes, "What?" But I got onto the track this time.
Things not to do with a race car with Brandon Campbell. He can write a book this year, folks.
But I got on the track.
Yeah, something like that. Owen's having issues.
BJ Gillespie pushed him on the track.
I saw that. There is a photo of that.
Yeah. Owen Groves is Brandon Campbell internet.
Yeah, so that might be the issue that we're having. So Paul, you might need hold on. We don't want to see Brandon Campbell tonight because the camera might not even start. So let's try this.
Wow.
Let's bring this back. Okay, let's come back to us. We'll for now. But yeah, the Eastbound race coming up this weekend is going to be great. 100 laps for the late model Sportsman, 40 laps for the hobby stocks, 40 laps for the legend cars. The legend board is sold out, by the way, boys. $800 in lap money for a 40-lap Legends race. And I know the car count hasn't been phenomenal over there. I think they've been getting around 10 to 12. So that's a start, but there's some money on the line, and there's still, as you can see on the screen, that number has depleted a little bit. It's about 30 something laps left in the Sportsman race. There's about, I think, 16 or so in the hobby stock, and I haven't even looked at my phone yet to see if there's anybody on the line, but I know Mike James has got some working. Let's see if we can get Owen on here one more time.
Get Mike James on here.
Listen, I asked Mike to come on tonight, and he said no. He's too busy putting the kids to bed.
He's with the buys.
Owen, do you got us now?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, loud and clear.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, welcome to the show. How are you doing? I know we haven't spoken in a while. It's been a while since I've been over to Eastbound. How have you been? Are you ready for the weekend?
Pretty good. I've actually been in college in Thames, so I have been working on the car last week or two, but we've been struggling a little bit all year, but hopefully we've turned around at the end of the year. So.
And for those that don't know, you started off your career in Bandoleros at Eastbound and won a ton of races in that, then moved into the late model Sportsman. So I guess we'll start at the start. So how did you get your start in racing?
Well, when I seen like Waylon Farrell and a few guys from the West Coast was out in Thunder Valley racing Bandoleros, that's what really got me into it. And I knew I had to get one, so I got one off the Farrells, and we were racing it ever since and had really great success with that car and brought us to a lot of championships. So it was great. And the guy that actually bought it in Nova Scotia, I see Chase, he's been doing pretty well with the car too.
When he can keep it on all four wheels.
Yeah.
How many, you won, 2 or 3 championships with that race car?
I think 3, it was, yeah.
And a ton of races.
Yeah.
And with that division just starting out at Eastbound, we talk about guys like Ryan Messer and Ashton Tucker and the Alicia Mowitz and the Drew Greenlaws and those kids in New Brunswick that started out that division. To be at Eastbound and be one of those kids that was one of the first to start out in a Bandolero, how neat is that to have that, to be part of that first class?
I really didn't expect it at first. Like it really come after a while and just pushing the car harder and harder. Like it just come to me the track, it's kind of unique, like some other tracks, like some people haven't raced, but it's a thrill to drive. And I feel like I adapted really well to it. Like I really stepped into it.
So for those that have never been to Eastbound, I've tried to explain it from over here, but from a driver perspective, how do you drive Eastbound? What's it like to drive around that place?
It's definitely challenging. Like, and a Bandolero car, like you're just basically out there. Like they got plates put on now, but they actually were like hitting probably like I'd say over 80 miles an hour at some points. Like it was real fast. Like, but I'm not really sure. Like.
With a sportsman car, that the back straightaway is elevated 18 feet.
Like the Bandolero, you're just gonna hold it wide open, really. But like the sportsman more, like you're kind of just driving it in the corners a bit harder, like especially turn 1. But 3 and 4, you're like you kind of gotta slow it down a little bit and roll your corner and come half harder. Off the corners is huge.
Because I would assume in 3 and 4, because it drops, you have to wait so long on the throttle, don't you?
Yeah, and the elevation actually coming out of turn 2 is like I had a wreck there about 2 weekends ago, and the elevation coming off the corners are a bit like high banking and hard to judge sometimes, and definitely a bit challenging.
We're live and interactive with Owen Groves, driver of the number 9 in the Sportsman Division at Eastbound Park. If you got a question, comment, what have you, just drop it down below. And Dazzling Dylan will get to it, even though he doesn't have his coat on tonight. We've already established that. Well, yeah, you forgot it. It's going to be up there all winter long. We don't have another Riverside race.
No.
And we have, yeah, well, I know you are. But let's look forward. Oh, and obviously the Bandolero career. You did a little bit of traveling in the Bandolero too. You did Winter Nationals. You've done a couple of races off island. What's your best memory in a Bandolero off of the island?
I gotta say, like Winter Nationals was really like the hugest hit for me. Like Nova Scotia was fun, and like I wish I got more time, definitely like to race up there, because the guys up there are definitely just as good as the ones like down south, in my opinion. Like the racers up there, if you're racing with Nova Scotia, you're basically gonna do good down south. So, like. Winter Nationals was definitely a big help for me, but and where it was 5 days racing that, and you learn a lot down there. But Nova Scotia, you definitely got a good tough field there.
We talk about these kids in the mainland moving from Bandoleros to legend cars, and in the case of 660, moving from Bandoleros up to either sportsman or maybe a street stock or a pro stock. You move straight from a Bandolero to a sportsman car. What was the transition like? Because I know you didn't miss a beat going from one car to the other, but what was the transition like for you going from a small little Bandolero car all the way up to this big late model sportsman?
To be honest with you, at first, when I first got in the car, I think I practiced it like 1 or 2 nights before I before I raced, and it's definitely like it's not that much different. Like it's a bigger bando, I call it, kind of. It drives similar, but definitely the horsepower coming out the corners is like a big difference. Like trying to keep it straight and not lose no momentum. Like it's almost something like a bando, I find.
And you did not miss a beat. You went to victory lane in how many races going into a sportsman car?
Well, the first race I won back to back the Wounded Warrior 75. Then we went and I'm not sure what the last race. I think we got second or third, but we moved into next year, and I won like 1 or 2 of the first races, and then we kind of got another slump again. And then we come back at the end of the year again at the Wounded Warrior 75 and won 2019, and we didn't have a full season in 2020, and this is our next full season. Like this is our only season since then, so. This is the race really like that I'm hoping we'll get it back. So
for those that are just trying to process that, you went from a Bandolero to a sportsman car, and in the first race you went to victory lane?
Yeah.
that's a huge feat. Now that's not usually done anywhere, especially moving from a Bandolero to a late model.
It was definitely surprising, but to be honest with you, when I was out there, I didn't know what I was doing. Like really, car was like, as soon as we got it, we just threw a setup in it, and it just worked. Like it turned, it it just basically, like I said to everyone, like the car like did it for me, but like I just give it gas and turn it left.
There's wins where you remember where you are. Denver, I know you can probably relate to this. Dylan can do it too. I was at Oyster Bed Speedway that day when Owen won his first late model race, and I'm following along on Race Monitor, and I look and I was like, it's either they've got something screwed up, which with Eastbound, sometimes with that Race Monitor deal, they're just trying to get a hold of it at that point. So I wasn't sure if they were showing times or they were showing positions. So I sent Mike James a text message. And even when I sent him that text message, he got right back to me. He said, Owen won his first race. So I said, Race Monitor didn't lie. Thank you. It's kind of neat. So what do you remember from that first day going to Victory Lane in that sportsman car coming right from that bando?
Well, I think the first race I won, I had to hop into the bando right after. Actually, I didn't even have enough time to think about anything. I ran down pit road. I brought the car to tech. And I ran down pit road, and hopped in the bando, hit a couple hands, and just went on, and then won the bando feature, and come back out and race the sportsman again, and just too overwhelmed, really. And then I started last in the second feature that day, and drove up to the field, and luckily got the win then again. So I don't know how it really worked out. God's favor was definitely on my side that day, but I'm just glad it worked out like that.
Once again, we're live and interactive with Owen Groves. Be sure to drop us a question or a comment, and Dylan will get to it. And Dylan, I know social's been kind of quiet. I know he's got a couple of fans over there that are watching, though.
Yeah, Owen, you got a couple cheerleaders here in the comment section. Rachel Gwen and Beverly Bryan are just writing, Owen Groves, heart, and Owen Groves, way to go. You must be pretty fired up for the weekend coming up, right?
Yeah, for sure. This are going for a 3-time Wounded Warriors race in a row, basically. So it's pretty big race for me with Dennis Ware and Chris Ryan. It definitely means a lot to the track and a big race for sure.
What's the competition been like in that sportsman division this year?
This year, it's been tough where we had MSD boxes put in them, and we're all limited to exactly the same. It's a bit challenging, but it makes you better as a driver. I find you kind of got to basically run the corner as hard as you can, and that's where that's who basically wins the race. Whoever got the best handling car.
For someone who may not know, Owen, what are those MSD boxes for someone who may not be super technical with the race cars?
They're just rev limiters, and they cut out at 5,800, our chips do, and just limits every car to the same exact horsepower, say.
So does it even the playing field for maybe a guy who doesn't have that powerful of a sportsman car compared to someone who may have the cream of the crop?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely makes it more closer, a lot of times, and it's more about really just corners. Like I said, it's not about no straightaway speed so much. I don't find now. Definitely a bit of pickup on restarts, but that's about it.
In that sportsman car, where would you like to bring it to the Maritimes? If you were given an unlimited check, they say, Owen, wherever you want to go this weekend, you've got it. Where are you bringing your sportsman?
I've been really tossed up from Petty and Riverside, but I'd say Riverside for the first time just because it's pretty identical and lots of room to race and just always on the bucket list to race, right?
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good answer there, Tim.
I think so too. Looking at the competition that we have this season in that division, the numbers have dwindled a little bit. But the car kind of ebbs and flows everywhere that we go. But you've got some good competition. And Sarah Thorne, she's won a couple of races this year. Obviously, Wayne Walsh is quick. And, some guy in a 74 car seems to find some speed, too. Who's your biggest competition this weekend?
I'd say, like you just said, Sarah Thorne, she's really fast, too. And Jason and Wayne, they're definitely the toughest of the toughest, competitors out there. And, probably harder to pass sometimes too. But where cars are so close, it's harder to pass, I find now. So it's definitely a challenge.
So Jason won that first ever NASCAR championship, or at least under the NASCAR banner. Wayne's won a couple, but everybody is so close going into the next couple of races to try to win a championship. But obviously you're parked beside that 74 car every week. So is there any sort of rivalry between you and Jason? Who wants to beat who? Because the last couple of years you won a couple of races, and I think Jason kind of lit a fire under himself, didn't he, the last little bit here?
Yeah, like, to be honest with you, like, he really turned it up since I won a bit, and he's been doing really well with it. And what else was it I was going to say? I had another thing to mention about it. I'll have to come back to that one. But
you mentioned the big race. It's a 100-lap race, the memorial race for Dennis and Chris, and only a couple of races left to go in this season. Obviously, with the pandemic, it's kind of short in 2019 and changed a little bit in 2020, 2021 with gathering limits and all that other stuff. So with a 100-lap race, what would it mean to go to Victory Lane this weekend and celebrate again on the front straightaway?
Oh, well, it would be definitely like a perfect ending to this, like almost ending to the year. Like I said, like we won the last two, and like it's just huge for me. Josh Collins won like 3 150s in a row. It was huge for him, and I feel like this is a race, so hopefully it will turn out our way. And Pop says to me about Jason, he says, if you can beat him, he says. That's what he tells me.
I love it. Love it. You mentioned another name there in Josh Collins. Josh kind of took a little bit of time off racing during the pandemic, but he's back. He's racing. For those on the mainland that might not know, the 56 car is back. How neat is it to see Josh on the racetrack every week? Yeah,
it's definitely great having a few good competitors back, and they race pretty tough at times, but it's all fun. Like, it is definitely just great sport, and then we all has talks after, so it's just a fun laugh.
I know I'm taking Dylan's job, but Codner wants to know when you're going to beat him in iRacing.
Well, I'm here in the apartment now, and I got a computer, but I'm waiting on the chair to come in from out to bay, so soon.
So can't you just get a chair and race in front of it, or are you talking like the steering wheel, the cockpit attached to it?
Yeah, like the whole thing is out at the house, so I'm going to bring it all in one time, so hopefully Pop will get that in soon.
So there you go, Nick. You got to wait just a couple of more weeks in order to get to that point. Denver, what do you got for Owen Groves?
Well, Owen, I have never personally made it to Eastbound Park, but Tim has spoke very highly of it. I want you to give me a pitch. Why should, whenever I get the chance, make the trip over and check out the racing at Eastbound Park?
Well, it's the facility, like, it's one of the, I got to say, like, one of the nicest in Atlantic Canada and Riverside. Like, two of them is definitely high up there, like, and like what they got going down here, like, seems like it's going pretty good, and hard at times, but like I gotta say, like, everything down there, like, is the people is a lot of it. Like, everyone is like very talkative, like, and friendly.
I want to ask about Thunder Valley a little more. I know that was, I guess, the first track in Newfoundland that opened up. What can you tell us about Thunder Valley Speedway, and how much have you got to run there?
I only ran there a couple of times in a couple of years. I ran a couple of Bandel races out there and picked up the championship between that speedway and Eastbound one year, and it was definitely fun going out there for a couple of, like, 1 or 2 races and racing a different racetrack. And I was actually out there without a car there a few months ago, and they got a great program going out there, actually. And hopefully they'll get a couple more car counts out there, and they'll definitely be a lot better.
Do you foresee yourself taking your Sportsman down to Thunder Valley in the future?
If they, like, I would, but it's a bit like hard to race with room out there a little bit, so it's kind of a bit hard in Sportsman, but I definitely would want to make one trip out there at least, probably a year. But this year's been a bit too busy with us, and had a wreck a couple weeks ago, and just a bit too busy with Eastbound to really, like, get a chance to go out. Like,
looking ahead, down the road, what's next for you in your career? What do you want to accomplish in the Sportsman car?
I definitely want a NASCAR championship for sure, but it definitely like is a challenge. And like my uncle, like he raced hobby stock for like in the dirt for years, and he knows his way around racing very well, and takes a bit of a kind of experienced race car driver to run and go for the championship. So hopefully I'll get it in a couple of years.
Before I throw up, oh sorry.
Yeah, I won Rookie of the Year and went to Charlotte, and it was a cool deal, but hopefully we'll be able to get down and go for the championship sometime.
Before I throw it back to Tim, I want to ask you a little more about the NASCAR sanctioning, because we don't have any tracks in the Maritimes that run with the NASCAR Home Tracks series. Yes. How cool is it to and there's only a few in Canada. How cool is it for Eastbound Park to have that sanctioning and that extra prestige that comes with being a NASCAR track and a NASCAR champion?
It's definitely huge. We're down south, like when you go down there, like it makes the track like way more like explore. Like a lot of people looks at it a lot more, like I find, and it's like just like the payouts and everything. Like it's just a thrill. Like it's great.
And I think it adds to it too, that the fact that Mr. Langel's favorite driver, Ryan Blaney, is sporting Eastbound Park on the C post this week, right, Mr. Langel?
Yes, ain't that cool?
Yeah. Well, I was more going that Ryan Blaney is your favorite NASCAR driver, but we'll go with that too.
I never said he was my favorite.
What did you say earlier before we came on air?
What? That he's a good driver?
You said something like that.
Else, wasn't it?
Yeah, something else.
Well, okay, you can't tell me he's not the best looking driver in NASCAR right now.
I mean, that is a you thing, bud. It's not a me or a Denver and Owen thing.
The next race, they just need to line up all the drivers on the front stretch, and the announcer goes through them. And the more people that screen, the more ladies. It's kind of like Rick Rude in wrestling. The more that go crazy, that's how they determine it.
So I hope Joan Rui's watching, as we have a job for Dylan Langell, or Dazzling Dylan, next year at Riverside.
Yeah, okay, we'll have to put in the comments section who's going to get the Ryan Blaney Award on the Pro Stock Tour. By the way, Derek Hilchey is wondering, Tim, what's in the Red Solo Cup?
I know, and it is the what's left of the McNeil Hughes Motorsports wine.
That you still have some of that?
From a couple of weeks ago. I'm trying to move it over here into the other box. It's right there. There we go. There's not much left. I had to struggle with the cork a couple of weeks ago. But thank you, by the way, to Chris and Corey for that. I don't know what we're going to get ourselves into on Saturday night at Eastbound, but I'm sure we'll figure out something. So for those, I'll go on to Denver's point a little bit earlier on, Owen. Obviously, Eastbound is the attraction of its own, but Newfoundland is a whole different experience. For those that have never been to Newfoundland, what's the sales pitch to go over and spend some time over in Newfoundland?
Yeah, there's definitely like a couple of vacation spots which come up like the summers, like Lumsden, and there's a few places where definitely like you don't want to miss, and Twilling Gate, like that you want to travel to. Like it's definitely a very nice scenery for people who haven't seen it before. And I find when I go away to Nova Scotia or PEI, it's the same way, right? Like kind of goes both ways with stuff you didn't see before.
Let's talk about the little bit of extra money that's on the line as well. Lap leaderboard this weekend. I think we're 30 something laps away from completely selling it out. Extra $20 a lap on the line. Does that make you drive a little bit harder to get up to the front and lead some laps?
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty like dead set on last 30 or 40, but definitely plays a mindset like in that for sure.
So we got one race here this weekend, which is 100 laps, and the final comes up in, I believe, 2 weeks' time, in the first weekend of October. That's 150 laps. So what can you learn from this week to set yourself up for that race coming up in 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, like we kind of struggled all year long, to be honest with you. Like we had like the same car, same everything, but we had a couple of little minor things. And the day that we thought we had it right, basically, we ruined it. Basically, we beat the clip off it. So that wasn't good for sure. But we got another car last week. We had to actually purchase another car. So it seems like it's working well. We finished fourth with it last week. So hopefully we'll take some note. We took some notes from last week to put to this week. So hopefully it'll be a bit better.
Denver kind of touched on this, but let's go forward 5 years or so from now. Where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself with a couple of Sportsman championships? If pro stock ever becomes an option in Newfoundland, do you see yourself moving up? What's the outlook for the next 5-10 years or so?
I was definitely looking into a pro stock maybe, but I was thinking about like racing sports and probably from now on in. I'd really like to get an opportunity, like if my sponsor's interested in it, like to race a Pinty's race or something like that, just maybe a deal like that once or twice or something. But mainly just kind of want to like try something a bit different, right? Like, and go somewhere with it.
Has there been a Newfoundlander in the Pinty series before?
Waylon and Josh.
Okay. We need a third one.
You need a third one. Absolutely. And Waylon and Josh both did great when they're Waylon's only done one start at Riverside. Josh has done a couple of starts, darn near won a race in Ontario a couple of years ago. So I think Owen will fit right in with those heavy sportsman sort of cars that the Pinty series does run. And hopefully eventually we see them back out east at some point. But looking forward to this weekend, obviously the sportsman race is coming up. I want to ask you about the Bandolero division, because I know the Bandolero division is kind of going through a little bit of another boom over there. Who do you see as the next driver to be the next Owen Groves to come up, win a bunch of races, and maybe join you in sportsman cars?
Well, he's already done pretty good this year, actually. The 84 car, Noah Healy. He's really picked it up this year and found some speed in the car, and we've been helping him out a little bit. So definitely him for sure.
There we go. And by the way, Dylan, I know you're slacking a little bit on social. I see Mom's watching. So Owen, say hi to Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Dylan, what else do you have for Owen Groves?
What else do I have for Owen Groves? I'm trying to think. Let's talk a little iRacing, because we were talking iRacing earlier with Keegan. Owen, you've been one of the mainstays with the Tim's Corner iRacing stuff. Are you ready for the off season? We got a big 300 lapper once the season kind of wraps up here.
Well, he's got to do some laps behind Nick apparently now. Learn from him, right?
Yeah, I definitely got to catch up to Nick on it now. Nick's been growing it for a few months, I've heard. So definitely going to have to get back at it. But I was wondering when your first race was for iRacing.
Right now it's November 19th, I think it is. Paul, I don't know if you have the graphic, because I not that I forgot about the date, but it's the TCM 300, and I know Paul is scrambling right now. This you can't see it on the screen. This is great. He's scrambling. I think it's November 19th. Oh, there it is. Look at that. TCM 300, November 19th. Qualifying that week. All that information is going to come up soon. So, okay, and I know Mike is looking at some Eastbound stuff as well, and I'm sure that's a conversation we have to have this week when we're over there getting everything done and looking forward. We'll do last call on social for Owen. So if you have a question or a comment, drop it down below. And I know the family is watching, so if there's anything we can throw at Owen that might stump him a little bit, have at it. But with this Eastbound season coming to an end, highlights obviously of this season. What are you going to take from this 2021 season from Eastbound?
Definitely build on it for next year. Like, it changed the cars a lot this year with, like I said, the MSD boxes and stuff. Like, but other than that, like a little bit of setup stuff and just really just trying to make myself better. Really, like I said with the iRacing, like that really makes you a lot better of a driver with off season doing that and like basically.
And you mentioned sponsor-wise, Quinlan brand is big on your race car, and you've had a really good-looking sportsman car the last couple of seasons, really sharp, which is going to lead into what we're going to talk about later on in the show with the Tim's Corner Best of Racing Awards opening up here in the next little bit. But for those that don't know, you got Quinlan brand on the race car. Who else is on this race car that makes it look so good?
Really, it's just them. Really, like they're everything. Like they're the only reason why I does racing. To be honest with you, like. They support everything with me, and that's how I got my start in racing, really.
Yeah, your crew is big too. Who do you got around the race car that helps you?
Yeah, like Jason and Fans. Like Jason's like he's a good race car driver, but he also could work on his car and fix it and know what to do with it. Like he's really good like that, almost something like the way Corey Hall is like. And Fonz, like you can't beat him with everything. Like he's basically one of the best crew chiefs basically you can have. And Pop and Dad works on it a bit too, and Dad really like hooked up the bandolero and made it go around the racetrack. So big thing with the bando for Dad basically.
And Dylan, I don't think there's a whole lot of questions over there on social, but I think there's a lot of congratulations and good lucks going on for Owen this weekend, right?
Yeah, there is. There's quite a bit there, which is pretty cool. I mean, just looking through here, scanning through, Nancy says, good luck, Owen. Janet Healy, bring home that big win, Owen. Gary Turner commenting here, good job, Owen. Looking forward to Saturday. Hopefully ahead of you in that comment. So, I mean, you got a lot of fan support there behind you. It's got to feel pretty good going into the weekend.
Yeah, it definitely feels overwhelmed over that and very well appreciated that a lot of people supports us and stuff.
Absolutely, Owen. This has been fun. Thank you for taking some time out from college to join us here this evening, and good luck this weekend. We'll see you on Saturday.
All right, appreciate it. See you then.
That's Owen Groves, driver of the number 9 Quinlan brand Sportsman at Eastbound Park. And let's talk fantasy. I know Denver's got to run and plug in a computer, so we're going to start, Dylan, with this. And well, you're not very close to the top of the board.
Come on now. It's not very nice, but I picked myself up a win, didn't I, on the weekend?
Yeah, you did. You're still about 40 or 100 points behind the fans. Meredith picked up some points. Denver picked up some points, and I struggled a little bit with the Donald Chisholm pick on the weekend. I figured Riverside would be a shoe-in. Brandon, your pick wasn't very good either.
Who did I even pick for Riverside?
You picked Nicholas Noggle.
And where did he finish?
Second last.
Yeah, I did not.
Oh, I think you got it wrong. I think you finished second.
No.
Oh. I didn't even see the order from the week. I don't even know how the race went. I didn't watch it. Was it a good race?
It was a really good race. You can watch that back, by the way, with your subscription on Tim's Corner TV.
Yeah, good one. Obviously the 99 always wins. So whoever picked him, it was a good pick.
Thank you.
So Denver, you're back. 10 points.
Yeah, I should be ahead. I'm still protesting the result from 2 weeks ago, Speedway 660, but we will look ahead for now.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yep. That's okay. And obviously mine didn't go very well. So we're going to move to this next week. And by the way, we want your picks right now. I know there's a few of you watching that have a vested interest in the Mike Stevens Memorial coming up this weekend. So we want you to drop your pick below right now. Who is going to win the Mike Stevens Memorial? And we have, I think, 31 entries in that one. You can head to timscorner.ca and see the full entry list of that. Denver, you were the first one of our group to pick, and you picked Corey Hall.
Yes, I did, because I wanted to pick Corey Hall for the 250 2 weeks ago, but Tim was the first one to jump the gun and pick Corey Hall, so I couldn't take the same pick. I would be leading the points if I had copied Tim's pick. But anyways, I made sure I got Corey's for this week because he has been virtually untouchable this year. He has won 4 to 5 races he has started. The only race he didn't win, he was winning before a little mishap with the lap car. So I am very confident in this pick. And Corey's going to put me back in the points because he's been helping me make up points all season long.
And Dylan, because he worked for you last week.
Go with the 99, Craig Slomwhite. I was a little torn between him and Jonathan Hicken. Jonathan's making his return in a pro stock. He's the king of the Mike Stevens Memorial. He's looking for his 5th title in that race. So I was kind of torn there, but hot right now. When you're hot, you're hot. You take them. 3 wins in a row with the Pro Stock Tour. I think the 99 is going to get the big win. By the way, he was on the podium at the Riverglade International, so he's been strong at Petty. I think the number 99 is going to be number 1 this weekend.
Ryan Spencer in the chat has the same pick as Brandon. And Brandon, you have?
I picked Jonathan Hicken. I assume he's running the number 13 King car.
We were told it has 5 on it. I could be wrong, though.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what car he ran, and we know that car is quick wherever it goes. I thought about picking Ashton Tucker just because of how quick he was last year, him and Jonathan, but he's had a rough year. And I'm trying to catch fantasy points, so I think it's going to be Jonathan Hicken this weekend.
Yeah, you've got a long way to go in a very short time to get there. Yeah, and I've got Cole Butcher. It's hard. I don't know Denver if I have to go into point mode or go for wins, but Cole's been consistent except for the one, I think it was the Riverglade International, where he got crossed up with another car, but obviously he won the tour race up there. I think Cole Butcher's probably a safe pick. Once again, we want you to leave your pick with us down below so we can get the fans a little bit further away from Mr. Langell in the points chase, right?
Yeah, it's because I'm creeping in on you guys.
Yeah.
Couple good races for this guy here. I'm taking the friggin' title.
This has 31 cars in it. It's like the Oxford 250. You have an opportunity to make points up. By the way, Meredith picked Dave Obletus. We've almost forgotten about Meredith.
So quickly, Tim, are there any late additions on this entry list that we should know about?
Nasty and Pollard are coming.
Who? Yeah, Nasty and Pollard. Not that I know of. I know there's a couple that were on the fence. I talked to Terry Duguay last week. He wasn't sure if he was coming. There's a couple that are on the list. I know Marty Prevost was initially on the list, but I spoke to Marty at the racetrack on Tuesday. He's going to bring his legend car to Scotia on Friday night. So there's a little something for you if you want to come to Scotia Speed World and watch some racing, or watch with your subscription on timscorner.tv. Marty Prevost is going to be at Scotia. I believe Waylon Farrell was talking about bringing his legend car to Scotia Speed World. And I believe, Dylan, did you hear the same thing that I heard at Wendy's, that Adam Meehan might be bringing a legend car too?
Yeah, in the middle of him chomping down some burgers, I think you mentioned that he might be racing.
Yeah, you said burgers, right?
Yes.
Yes. For what happens at Wendy's?
He had a couple.
Yeah, he had a couple. He kept the staff at Wendy's busy, and I thought I was bad with burgers. But nevertheless, leave your picks below. Andrew Lively has Dylan Blankhorn. I don't think that's a bad pick either. There's 31 cars in that entry list. There's not one slouch on it, but we're going to shift gears and we're going to go towards the Eastbound race again, the Memorial race coming up on the weekend. And a guy who knows a thing or two about racing his sportsman car around that Eastbound Park racetrack is Justin Ryan. Justin, welcome to the show. Oh, you're muted. Hold on here. Let's try that. Love technology when it works. Give us a go now. There we go.
It's always fun when it works, right?
Absolutely. Good to catch up with you, bud. How have you been?
Long time no see, man. Good. How about yourself?
So far, so good. Sportsman race coming up this weekend. I know you haven't been out a whole lot with the pandemic, but I guess the first question is, are we going to see you on the weekend?
Stay tuned.
I know you guys are a lower budget race team, and I know you get a lot out of that race car. And I've said before, one of the best underrated talents in the province of Newfoundland. But for a race team like yours, what's it going to take to get out there and battle with these boys that have been out there? How long, if you do get out there on the weekend, how long is it going to take you to shake the rust off?
I don't know. Those boys are quite fast now. It takes a lot of teamwork and a lot of time, which I don't have at the moment. So I don't think I'd be able to keep up with those boys. It more or less would be run like old times.
We had Owen Groves on here just a few moments ago, and he was talking about Eastbound for a driver perspective. For those that might not have seen Eastbound Park before or have heard stories about it, as a race car driver, how do you drive Eastbound Park as a driver?
Eastbound is unique at more or less with turn 1 and 2 uphill. You kind of got to change your attitude when you come down to 3 and 4 because, well, it's downhill. So as much as you think you can just keep being complacent and doing the same lap after lap, you really got to know where you're to if you're not paying attention.
And knowing who you're racing around too, because you mentioned 3 and 4 drops off. It drops off to a 0 degree because there's a drag strip on the front straightaway. So how do you manage hitting your marks as a race car driver by yourself and then put yourself in traffic with 16 to 18 other cars? How do you manage it?
You really got to play it. Really got to see the number, use your spotter. You really got to, you know who drives like what and where to be in certain times, because more or less you can wreck yourself if you got your nose in 3 and 4 when you know the driver's just going to cut down because he needs to make the turn.
We're live and interactive here this evening with Justin Ryan. If you got a question or a comment, be sure to drop her down below, and we'll get to it. Let's start at the start. How did you get your start in this whole racing thing?
Me and my dad started racing back in 2007, I believe, 2007. And then we were in dirt track for a while, and then we bought the Sportsman at Thunder Valley. That was around 2008 or 2009. And then roughly around 2011, we got into the Sportsman you see now. And then in 2014, he came down with cancer, and I inherited the car. And then I asked Patty if I could race, and I just went from there. First race car I ever sat in.
And I know it took you a couple of years to get your feet underneath you, but the first race that I was at Eastbound was that ECC race back, had to be 6 or 7 years ago now. And you were on the podium with Ches Cole, who won that race, and Shane Koff. And how cool was that to be on the podium with them in a big race like that?
It's when you're on that podium, it's a good feeling because the drivers are really good there. They don't give an inch.
Yeah, absolutely. And the talent that Ches has, and the years that he has had under his belt, and he's still out there racing. How neat is it to see that 61 car still doing laps around this racetrack?
Well, that 61 can still wheel a race car. He don't give you no. When you're racing Ches Cole, you gotta really turn. You really gotta know what you're doing.
Definitely a crafty veteran, as Joe Chisholm would say. You've had some really good runs in that Sportsman car, and we've had the conversation before about part-time team, a little bit of a lower budget, trying to put everything together. So these podium finishes are sweeter. It seems like for a team like yours. What do you remember about those podium finishes? I know you got a couple of them under your belt.
I don't know. It's a really good feeling when you're a low budget team and you get the respect and all that comes with being up with the faster cars. You know what I mean? It's hard enough as it is, but when you start doing good, people notice.
And it definitely does, and especially to get that 68 up front with the pandemic, you've been able to kind of sit back and watch a little bit of the racing. And we just had Owen on the show, and Sarah Thorne's been racking up wins. From an outsider's perspective here in the last year and a half or so, what's your take on the Sportsman Division, where it's going or where it's gone and where it's going in the future?
I think those young kids are, young adults, I should say, are getting fast. They were fast at the start, and they're just getting faster and faster, and that's just a new crowd, I guess you'd say.
Absolutely. We're live and interactive here with Justin Ryan. I know social's a little bit quiet, Dylan, but what do you got for the driver of the 68?
Well, Justin, good to chat with you here. Pretty big weekend coming up with this feller here in the chat making the trip. Oh, I just knocked my equipment over. Sorry. I got excited there for a second.
That's why we don't give you fancy things, right?
I got excited for a second. But with Tim showing up this weekend, and you've got the extra money on the laps this weekend. How cool is it that this is all coming together?
It's this race is a special one to mine, for me, anyways. And I found the drivers really come together, and it means a lot to a lot of people. And then put the money on the line. I think it just makes it a lot better for everyone else involved. I think the drivers really deserve it.
For a fan, Justin, that may be on the fence about going to Eastbound this weekend, why should they go out to the track?
I think, why not? You know what I mean? It's one of the best facilities you ever find. People complain about all over the place that they don't have a very good facility, and here we are with the top-notch gear and top-notch cars. Really good drivers. It's only getting better. Fill the seats and keep the racetrack around.
I'll burp some more questions in a moment, Tim. But what about Denver? What do you got for Mr. Justin Ryan over here?
I kind of want to ask you a question that I asked earlier about the NASCAR sanctioning, and how big is that when you think about, there's only a handful in Canada that have the NASCAR sanctioning, and then the champions get to head down to North Carolina, and big celebration, extra money in the pot, just everything being called a NASCAR champion. What does that mean, from your perspective to Eastbound?
At first, it doesn't click in. You know what I mean? It's oh yeah, it's just NASCAR. But then when you look down and you got your NASCAR license in your hand, and you go online, and your stats, if you can search up Jeff Gordon's stats at the time or whatever, you can search up his stats and your stats on the same page. At the end of the year, I get a paycheck from Daytona, Florida, stating, here's your winnings for the year for being in the top 5 in NASCAR standings. And Dale Jr. got the same check as me, just a couple extra zeros. That's cool to me, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, it would be, and there's not many people who can say that. Looking ahead down the road, what's going to be coming down the pipeline for you in your racing career? Is there anything left that you want to pull off, or move up, or travel some?
I think you might see my car come out of hibernation very soon. More or less, they're just kind of keeping everything under the tarp.
That's sometimes a good thing, though, Tim, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's always great to see the 68 car on the racetrack, because I know you guys pour your heart and soul into every race that you do, and obviously this weekend is big. And I know from being at a couple of those memorial races, coming over and being a part of the show, just being a part of any Eastbound show is big. But be a part of this show is pretty darn special. I know it means a lot to you. What's the mindset going into this weekend?
Mindset is hopefully now everyone can keep the peace and keep the green flags rolling, and everyone have a good time and enjoy themselves, and try to sit back and enjoy what we have versus get taken away from the drama and the heat of things. You know what I mean? Let's sit back and celebrate more than, it's hard to explain.
And you know what? I think that can be said. And Dylan, Denver, I think you guys can say it too, that and a lot of this, at least on the mainland, has been lost the last little bit of, the drama and the politics and everything that goes on in the sport. Denver, I think Justin just hit the nail on the head, to sit back and enjoy it. And I know you guys are going to be at the Mike Stevens race this weekend. I'm going to be at Eastbound. Denver, I think you can probably relate to what Justin's saying.
Absolutely can. That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Drama, racing? No. No.
More money, more drama.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin, I want to ask you, because you've been there since the start, and you've seen some of those races that have had a ton of cautions. I think Mike told me there was a couple of races this season where there's, been 0 cautions, or, that halfway caution in the Sportsman feature. The competition has really stepped it up. It's been a cleaner show. What's your take on the progression from where we started on pavement all the way to where we are now, racecraft wise?
I think when we first met, everyone was just tipping their toes into the pool kind of thing. And certain guys took off faster than others. And there was a group that split up at the beginning. There was a faster group of cars and a slower group. But now that the rules are a little bit tighter and everyone's getting a little bit more experience, it's a job to really beat some of these teams. So now it's like if they get it 1 inch, they're gone. So I don't know. It's definitely a lot stiffer racing than when I was there.
Now, looking forward to this weekend, obviously the Sportsman is the main attraction. We're going to see some great Atlantic Dodge dealers, hobby stock racing, Hanlon Realty legends, the Amanda Arsenault Bandoleros, but that late model Sportsman race is going to be a barn burner, 14, 16, 18 cars, whatever we come up with. Who do you see as the biggest competition this weekend? Who do you have on your radar to possibly take away that win?
Well, Wayne, of course. Wayne is one of the fastest fastest drivers out there. You know what I mean? He's definitely. I could see him probably winning it more or less. And then, well, Groves are fast. Sarah, you know, the list goes on. Chess, more or less. If you're not on your A game, is anyone's ball game. I figure, but I don't know. I guess you'd have to find out in practice.
I think at least on paper going in, there's an easy 6 to 8 drivers that could very well do it if they hit their marks and everything else. And not a night race this year. It's a 12:30 start for qualifying. So how do you think that's going to change the game a little bit? Because we've seen some of these memorial races go into the dead of night where everybody's sliding around under the lights and under the cool. So how do you think it's going to change these race cars coming up on Saturday when it's the heat of the day?
Well, you know what, I like the night races. I get a pretty good race car in the nighttime. But I think in the daytime, it's going to depend on the temperature and the humidity. So it's going to see what the track is like when we get there Saturday morning. And I think the talent of the drivers and the teams, they won't be long overcoming it. And it's going to be, like you said, once they hit the marks, there is anyone's ball game then.
We're going to get rid of this COVID stuff at least next year. We're going to go racing and everybody's going to have an opportunity to kind of go different places and see different places. For those that are sitting here watching tonight, because I know we got a lot of folks in the mainland that are just getting their introduction to Eastbound Park. Racing wise, it kind of sells itself. But for those that have never been to Newfoundland, what can they expect? What can they book? Give us a little bit of a sales pitch why they should go over and see the racetrack and see the province.
Come over, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the food, enjoy the track, the people. It's hard not to love this place once you come. It's one of those things. Like yourself now, you came once and that was it. Like, you know, it's hard not to remember it.
Absolutely. It's on my calendar every year, every time I get an opportunity to come over. Dylan, I see there's a couple more fans that are hopping into the chat. Who do you got over there?
Yeah, Justin, a lot of fans are commenting here. Austin Hiscock, where let's go 68. Hope to see you at the track on Saturday. Kristen Ryan and Kimberly Snellgrove both right 68 forever, and way to go 68. So a lot of support there, Justin.
Yeah, gotta love everybody. They a lot of people has been backing that car and the story and myself, I guess, the whole way since I've been racing, even though I might not do the greatest.
And that's something we were saying with Owen too. I mean, a lot of support there. It's got to feel real good, right?
Well, like any driver that's never came here, you come here, you'll find a spot to stay. You never like that's the way Newfoundland culture is. When you come here, you're home. So like you had a flat tire, we'll give you a tire. You want somewhere to stay, we'll give you somewhere to stay. You need somewhere to eat, come eat. So come to Eastbound more or less and let's get some new cars.
Jeez, I'm getting hungry now.
I know there's a few on the mainland that are looking at coming over next year, and I know that's a conversation that me and Mike have to have this weekend to try to get that all ironed out and set in stone. And Dylan, you've never been to Newfoundland, have you?
Never.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to get you over there.
Need to.
We're gonna have to bring them down to George Street, won't we, Tim?
George Street.
I listen. I don't know if Dylan Langell would survive on George Street. I barely made it the one time I was down there.
Yeah, I can see that smirk.
I'm down.
Oh,
I heard Brandon pipe on George Street.
Yeah, we love George Street.
I'm sure. Wasn't your father over there last week, Brandon?
Yeah, he's too old. He's too old for George Street, but he was at the track.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So, okay. I'm not going to touch it because I don't want to be on Eldon's bad list when I ever get back to MRBG.
No.
Oh well.
No. We'll leave it there.
Yes, absolutely. Denver, when are we making the trip to Newfoundland?
Soon, hopefully.
Saturday.
Let's go.
I can't make it Saturday, but 2022. Hopefully, there's something in the works. You know, Tim, and when we do go over, have to bring all the equipment and you know, show it live because there's a lot of folks here in the Maritimes that don't have never seen the track before. So,
and I can tell you that was, and now that Ken put a race on Friday night and kind of kibosh this plan, I can tell you that was the plan. for this weekend. I had the ferry booked for yesterday to go over. You guys were going to do this show on your own tonight. Luckily, I'm here. You guys did a great job, by the way, last week with Corey and Michael and the Goodwins. I know Bob was watching a little bit earlier on, got his tail whooped apparently at Miramichi. But anyways, that was the plan, to go over, take some cameras over and do some R&D and just have a couple of days to test. But with Ken putting the race on Friday night, I haven't missed a race in Scotia in 15 years, nor do I plan to start. So we're going to be there Friday night, hop an Air Canada flight, go over on Saturday morning. I guess Carl is my wheels from the airport to the racetrack. We're going to see how fast Mr. Tracy can drive, because it's going to be a tight turnaround to get from the airport to the racetrack. But this is going to be an opportunity this week for me. And we kind of had that last week at Oyster Bay Speedway. We want to thank Robbie and Bill and Chris and Gary and all of them over there for allowing me to come over, do some social media and just kind of kick back and chill with Jeremy a little bit. And kind of the same flow, I think, this weekend. Mike is watching. I know there's still some laps left in that race. So if you want to buy some laps and get these sold, there's 30 something left. So ring up Mike James's phone, ring up my phone. Let's get these sold. So we can put an extra $2,000 or so in the pocket of some of these drivers in that sportsman race. Kick back and have an opportunity to shoot the breeze with Mike James and interact with all the drivers and talk to people I haven't talked to in 2 years. And Justin, I don't know about you. I think the Thorns told me there was a bottle of rum over there for me. So
there might be two of those.
Yeah, I think there's gonna. We talked about kicking back and enjoying the racing and just kind of, sitting back and enjoying what we have. And I think that's kind of going to be the tone of the weekend.
Yeah, let's have a good time.
I think it's going to be a great time. This has been a great time here tonight. I know you don't do it alone. You mentioned the crew that's around the race car, and I know you guys have been off for a little bit, but who helps you out with this race car? Who gets you to the racetrack? Who do you got the names on the side of the race car? Who gets it to the track?
Well, my dad's name is on the passenger side of the race car. Mine's on mine, but the boys behind the car is Chris Osmond and Jordan, and there's actually so many names that there wouldn't even be enough time to say them all. I'll tell you the truth, because over the years everyone just pitches in because of the car, I guess.
Now, I do want to ask you about iRacing as well, because I know you got into iRacing a little bit. I know you were still getting up to speed, but we going to see you back on the virtual racetrack this year?
Yeah, you'll see me.
Good deal. So there you go, Dylan. Maybe you can learn from Justin. If you can't learn from Keegan Leahy, maybe you can learn from Justin how to get on the virtual racetrack.
I'm sure I'll learn from a few folks.
Oh, Brandon wasn't here earlier when Keegan was here. So Brandon, he apparently, Mr. Langell needs a teacher for iRacing.
I think he needs more than a teacher.
I can teach how to hit the walls.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan can't even. Never mind, we're not going to go there.
Does that mean Brandon needs a mechanic?
I got two of them that live with me, and it still doesn't work.
Apparently, they ain't no good at it.
No, I need more than a mechanic.
By the way,
a miracle.
He needs a hope or something. Dylan, we had one more comment over there from Austin Hiscock.
Yeah, Austin wrote, Brandon's parents had a great chat with Ashley Hiscock last week.
Yeah, they came home and they told me about that whole crew I think they're still talking about it. So, but they actually knew me from this whole Tim stuff, and then the parents got on the boat, and then they had the TCM sticker on the back of the car, and somebody goes, "How do you know Tim?" Dad goes, "Well, everybody knows Tim." And they said, "You know what? You're right." So it's kind of cool seeing all this stuff. I know Newfoundland's part of the land of Canada and all that, but it's it's out of the way. So it's nice to see that we're spreading ourselves a little bit. Yeah,
I know Eastbound Park doesn't get far enough attention, at least on our end, on this side, on the mainland. So as everybody said, I've been over there every year except for last year with COVID. Love it over there. It's a time. The racing is phenomenal. Can't wait to get back there this weekend. Justin, this has been fun. Thanks for being a part of this, and look forward to catching up with you this weekend. Even if you don't have the race car, you're going to be at the racetrack, right?
You might see some green letters show up.
It's what I like to hear, bud. All the best. We'll see you Saturday.
Nice seeing you, Tim.
That's Justin Ryan, driver of the number 68 car. And we hinted at this earlier. Nominations are opening for the 2021 Best of Tim's Corner Awards starting Friday for at least 2 of our mainstay awards, including the 10th annual TCM Most Popular Driver and the Best Looking Car Award presented by Kings County Performance. And Denver, the one thing that I did get this week from the McKays, from Jessica and Larry, we got some stickers coming over for Newfoundland as well. So we've got what I think maybe the final batch of 10th anniversary TCM stickers, and they're going to Eastbound. So nominations are opening on Friday. Most Popular Driver, Best Looking Car, all the information will be on Friday on timscorner.ca. But Denver, I know you're looking forward to crowning some new champions, and we've never had a repeat champion of that Most Popular Driver award. So what do you think?
I think that Brandon Campbell is now eligible, so I think we have our
don't
winner.
Remind him.
We should just cancel it right now.
I'm gonna have to make one of the Tic Tacs and get all those followers that Matt has, and then maybe I can win.
Oh, you got to keep up with Dylan Langell.
I think Matt's way past Dylan Langell. Dylan's nobody compared to Matt on the Tic Tac.
I will say it's going.
How many followers do you have, Dylan?
Over 3,000.
Wow, that's a lot of breath mints.
Add a 0, and then you might be at Matt Martin.
Yeah, at least Matt Martin plays bingo. What do you do?
You know, we didn't have a chance to do the collab at 660. Maybe Matt will be there at Petty on Saturday, so we'll have to do something there.
You're gonna break the internet.
Matt just messaged me. He said no.
I guess I gotta step my momentum up here. I've only got 21 followers on the Tic Tac.
That's 21 more than I have.
Listen, I'm willing to show some skin to get some more followers.
No, we told you this. The skin doesn't get you on the boat. The skin gets you kicked off the boat.
And gets you
Wait, you guys
out
have
of
a
Dylan
boat?
Blankcourt's books.
Hey, Mike. Speaking of skin, Mike James mentioned that they're sponsoring Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, see, we mentioned that earlier in the show. Mike was busy putting the kids down, but we did mention that. So Ryan Blaney has the Advanced Auto Parts deal, and Eastbound is going to be on. I believe it looks like from the photo, the right rear C pillar.
Rear pillar, yeah.
Of that race car. So yeah, watch on Saturday night. I believe it is at Bristol. So we're going to go watch some racing at Eastbound. You gentlemen are going to be busy apparently with Mike Stevens' race. So we'll keep it at that. No, by the way, the Most Popular Driver Award we are going back to the 3 starts deal. So we were joking about Brandon being a part of that deal. Brittany Hoyt apparently falls into that category too, from what we were talking about earlier. By the way, if you watch that little post that we did earlier this week on Tim's Corner, she was the not motivation, but the wise person behind that. So I want to thank her for that. I'm sure she's not going to see this or hear this, but thank her for that anyway. But she's eligible for the Most Popular Driver Award. So if you have 3 starts, your car is eligible for either the Best Looking Car Award or the Most Popular Driver Award. So nominations open Friday. They're usually open for about a month because Denver, we have at least one person every single year that says, I didn't know that the Most Popular Driver Award and the Best Looking Car Award were taking nominations. So Denver, you know as well as I do, this is their 1 month warning that this is where nominations will open.
Absolutely, and I kind of feel that pain. Brandon and I feel that pain because there's still people that don't know there's burnout competitions at Speedway, Miramichi.
Oh,
are there burnouts?
But yeah, you're 100% right, Tim. There's a month, and I'm sure it'll be announced at every racetrack for the next month. It'll be all over Facebook for the next month, and I'm sure everyone's going to start getting lots of messages. So if you don't know about it, well, that's kind of on you at that point. But a month's warning should be lots of time. We usually get like 150 to 200 nominations or something like that.
The Best Looking Car nominations have been a little stagnant the last couple of years. We've topped out at about 30 to 40, which isn't terrible. The Most Popular Driver Award usually gets around 100, and keep in mind there's about 500 or 600 drivers. With the pandemic, it's kind of cooled down a little bit because people are doing other things and what have you, but it's kind of calmed down just a little bit on that end. So get your nominations in. They will begin on Friday. They'll run for about a month, and then we'll start in October for that. Things are starting for the off season, boys. I was talking to Keith McIntosh this week. We're booking the Maritime Short Track Summit for November. So I know there's been a lot of people that have been going back and forth about racetracks and things going on and what have you. I know that's there. I know we've been kind of kicking the idea about potentially a fall enduro at ECK. to make up for the icebreaker that we lost. There's some things that are going on. So the last race in Miramichi is the 23rd, Denver, I believe.
That is correct. The Halloween Spooktacular is October 23rd.
And I talked to Barry this week. He's got an idea for a race that I can't say anything yet because it's not into the bag. But when he told me what he was doing, I kind of sat back and said, wow, that's a game changer.
I can say it. I was told I soon got to tie it in or announce it and tie it in. I haven't been doing my job, so I can announce it and beg for forgiveness. Easier to beg forgiveness than ask permission.
Go ahead.
Barry wants to do a V8 Outlaw race on October 23rd, in addition to the mini stock Outlaw race. So that'll be more information coming out about that, but that is going to be open to basically any V8 car in Atlantic Canada or beyond. There's no whoever can come with whatever the rules are and whatnot. As long as the car's got the proper safety gear, it can go on the track. So
Barry told me V8 motor, and as long as it's safe.
Yep.
Those are the only two rules.
Roll cage, seat, helmet, all that stuff, fire suit, you're good to go. It'll be interesting. It'll be wild. I can only imagine what it'll be like in Miramichi. And the idea for this, we kind of kicked this around last offseason and then kind of waited, to see how the summer went. But, the Hudson Hugger that they do, Hudson, New Hampshire, huge success, kind of loosely based off that. Excited to see how it goes. And like I said, there'll be more information to come. But, that's kind of what Barry's been hinting and teasing at. So, nothing is officially finalized yet, but, it's in the works.
I'd love to see, and I know Riverglade used to do a bunch of those races. Lake Dowsett did a bunch of those races in the past as well.
Wait. So this is that the friggin' run what you brung race, right?
Essentially.
My God, that race on YouTube is awesome to watch. We need that to happen.
This is the chance too. All those sportsman drivers that keep saying, we want to race in Miramichi. We want to race in Miramichi. This is your opportunity to race in Miramichi.
It just clicked with Dylan. The light bulb just went off. It was great.
Well, because you were saying it, and you said Hudson Hugger, Hudson Speedway. So I was thinking, didn't I watch a YouTube video of all these super late models and cars with giant plexiglass for downforce all on the track at the same time? So yeah, that's a really cool concept. So hypothetically, there could be a pro stock or a couple on the track, right?
Absolutely.
Or
I can't see why
classic.
not.
Or
anything.
Hot Rod Classic.
Absolutely.
Or against a modified or a street stock or
And the street, there's nothing to say that the street stock has to run the Hoosier 890 tire. I'd love to see some street stocks throw on some 1070s and see how they run.
F45s, F48s.
And Barry said, I know he had a couple of drinks in him, but he said that he would have a ride for me lined up. That's spectacular.
He also said we could drive the
Hold on. Brandon?
Yes.
I think you'll approve of this. So Barry started the grudge matches, right?
Yeah.
We need to do a Tim Terry and Dylan Landell grudge match.
No, I was told the grudge matches are booked for the season.
Well, we can always do multiple.
In the words of Brooke Dow, we're done.
That's not what I was told.
Dylan Landell, I like to drive 40 kilometers an hour and 120.
Listen, he did a lot better on the weekend.
What, 70?
Wait, this weekend he did a lot better. He only arrived at Wendy's about 10 minutes after I got there.
Oh wow!
From Riverside to
hey, I had to let Adam, me in, and all them get their order in first.
Right.
I will say I've driven behind you before, Dylan, and you're not as slow as they make it out to be.
Well, you're not fast, but whatever.
He's not the fastest driver in the world, but it is what it is. Want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Want to thank our guest Keegan Leahy. He was great. Great to have Keegan. Great to see him do well. Him and Dylan have done great things in that eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series for the province and for the city of Halifax. Want to thank the folks from Eastbound. Mike James is watching. He just finished changing diapers, by the way. He just said in the chat. Owen Groves, great kid, great prospect, great personality. Justin and Ryan, always great to catch up with the 68, and looking forward to seeing everybody on the weekend. Boys, Mike Stevens Memorial coming up. What are you guys looking forward to the most on the weekend?
Well, I'll say with a couple hands in the basket, it's the finale for the Heart of a Champion Hot Rod Classics powered by Conrad Brothers. The Fall Brawl brought to you by Subaru of Moncton. It's been tough launching a racing series in a pandemic. We only got 3 events in last year. This is going to be number 6. We got to visit 5 racetracks. It's our second time in 2021 at Petty. Looks like we're going to have a decent car count. Looks like some guys got their second shot. So we're going to have more of the Nova Scotia guys here, which is awesome. And we're looking to go out with a bang. So that's going to be fun. And then helping out Jesse Thompson in the announcer booth with the Pro Stock race, the 8th edition of the Mike Stevens Memorial Pro Stock race, the Sportsman, League of Legends, that whole deal. It's going to be a fun weekend. Gonna miss you, Tim, of course. We've been doing a lot of shows together, but I know that Eastbound is in your heart, and you've got that planned out for a little while. But Denver's going to be doing some stuff behind the scenes. It's going to be a fun weekend. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Denver, what are you most looking forward to here this weekend?
Pro Stocks. You look at that entry list, over 30 cars. We have not seen over 30 cars, I believe, since the 2019 IWK 250. No secret, car counts have struggled some this year. I think the biggest car count was 23, and that was at the 250 2 weeks ago. So to hit 30 plus is going to be phenomenal. That's going to be a very competitive field. And, look at the names out there. Jonathan Hicken, Corey Hall, Craig Slongway. Those got to probably be the 3 favorites. But, that's not even scratching the surface of the Cole Butchers, the Ashton Tuckers, the Dave Oblinuses. There's so many drivers that could win this race. It's going to be really exciting, and I really can't wait for that. The whole weekend as a whole, this feels like a big weekend. Obviously it is, but the hype is around this weekend. Everything's building up. The weather is looking good. It's going to be some phenomenal racing, and it has the potential of being the biggest weekend of the 2021 season. So if you can get to Petty on Saturday, or Friday and Saturday, 2-day show, Friday night show, I will be the only one of the 3 that are there. Looking forward to that. I always love some street stock racing, in addition to modifieds, mini stock legends, and the Mike Stevens weekend brings those big car counts. But really, if you can get to the track this weekend, you won't regret it.
There's one thing we can't forget about too, Tim. There's a road course race happening this weekend too.
No, there's not. No, you missed it. It's canceled.
Wow, you are slow.
You are slow. COVID